at the end of the day, you chose to have a baby. You shouldn't have it for somebody else. That's number one.
Absolutely.
Number two, nobody goes in thinking they're going to be a single parent, even if you're not married. Hey guys, welcome to an episode of Woken Pretty, because we are awake and we are still pretty, and we are talking to you live from our offices, one in Ontario, one in New York, and we're going to talk to you today about the hot topics because there's so many things going on. And one of the things that Min and I were texting about last night, which is a story that we've been avidly watching, is Jeanie Mai and her divorce proceedings with her husband. Tell us what's going on, Min.
He's come forward. He's talked. What's funny is that video that I sent you last night, I knew that he has left women right after they have his babies.
Something's wrong with that man. Can I just tell you something that triggered something for me? Because I know someone.
Oh, girl.
Not my personal story.
You both.
Not my personal story, but I know someone who, unfortunately, she got with a guy and he was like, oh, I want your baby. I want to have a baby, blah, 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 blah. And she was like, yeah, okay. Come to find out, he's done this with other people. He had 2 girls pregnant at the same time. God knows who else that she doesn't even know. The guy lied about everything, including his name. But he wanted that baby, which exists in this world today. So can you imagine? Like, I want to be with you. I want to have a baby. And then you did it. That's gone. I'm not really interested. I want to move on. Why'd he marry her, though? He could have just had another baby mama. Oh, she didn't want a baby. That's what it was.
Oh, yeah. No, Jeanie Mai didn't really want children. She had decided that I'm assuming that it took a lot of convincing. But one, what are you saying to these women? Because now she's a single mom. And this isn't what she signed up for.
I know, but that happens. You can't, even if
so I can't say who. I'm not going to say who this is, but I had a conversation with a male friend of mine who was struggling with a baby mama, his baby mama. And he was getting frustrated because and not that he was a bad guy or he'd done anything wrong, but it was very clear to me that she was hurt, very hurt in the certain situation that was going on. And sometimes when people are that hurt, they use the people around them as pawns. And unfortunately, and again, not that she was being malicious at all, but more in the sense that he just couldn't see his daughters as often. And I sat down with him and I was like, have you tried telling her you're sorry? And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, tell her you're sorry that you broke up with her. Tell her you're sorry that she's now doing this on her own and that's not what she signed up for. Tell her you're sorry for being a bona fide D. Like, just tell her you're sorry. And he was like, how's that going to help? And I was like, a lot. Because that's probably why she's upset.
But he has to like mean it.
Oh, absolutely. Now, I don't know if he actually did end up telling her he's sorry. I don't know what happened. But anyway, all I can say is that it just makes me very sad because Jeanie Mai just deserves a break. And I feel really bad for her. And also, this isn't what she wanted. And if she didn't really want, do not get me wrong, I think she loves her daughter endlessly and probably would never trade her now for the world. But the point is that this woman had decided and then was convinced to have a baby.
Listen, at the end of the day, you chose to have a baby. You shouldn't have it for somebody else. That's number one.
Absolutely.
Number two, nobody goes in thinking they're going to be a single parent, even if you're not married. If you're with somebody, you're thinking, and they want to have similar to the story I'm saying, they want to have a baby with you. You're not thinking about being a single parent because they want to have this baby, whether you're married or not. You think they're going to be there with you, just like they are with you when you're trying to have the baby. No one thinks about, oh, I'm going to be a single parent. And if they do, they have to come to terms with it. Regardless of the situation of how hurt she is, she has to come to terms that she's going to be a single parent.
Absolutely. He also wants the prenup to uphold, right?
Yeah, he does.
That video?
He does. Was he married before? I don't think he was married before. I think he just had baby mamas.
2 other baby mamas besides her.
Can I just tell you?
He also went into an altercation with his son.
A couple times. His 17-year-old son. Let's not talk about that for a second, because I want to bring that into another topic. But one of the things that really bothered me about that video, and if you all want to see that video, we're going
to tag it in the show notes. I'll tag it in the show notes.
It was on People. It was long, but it was interesting and informative about Jeanie Mai's current situation. The clip from her on her show talking about she likes the black meat on the side and the white meat to keep her lean. So it's her full, whole self. Yo, the fact that video showed it twice, at first I was like, okay, you said
They're trying
that,
to villainize her.
but she said that, and she
Yes, she
said it
did.
on national
And
TV.
she shouldn't have said it.
And it's fine if she, maybe it came out the wrong way. But here's the thing: when they tried to call her on it, because she's on a panel with, was there only one white woman on there besides that?
But
They're all like, wait, what? Explain. And they tried to be joking about it. But I felt it, girl. Like I felt it. I was like, I wouldn't have
I
even been that
should
joking,
have.
but they were all on TV.
No,
So
you
when
should
she
have.
said, I need my dark meat on the side and I need my lean meat for life or whatever, of course she was married to a white guy at the time, but it doesn't matter. So she said that, and they were like, explain. And they were like all joking about it, but I know they weren't really joking about it, because it is a common thing that Black women are villainized in life. They
Yep.
are educated. They do not have prospects. Black men don't want them because they're moving on. And they are more educated than their Black men counterparts for the most part.
Yep.
Overwhelmingly, statistically, it's a fact. White men don't want them. So who
Mm-hmm.
wants them? They are by themselves. They are now in this society where they're being pushed to have kids, pushed to have a life, but they push themselves out of their family to have a career and to do more and to do better. But they are constantly being on
Yeah.
in all aspects of life. And so to hear that really took me aback. And that's fine. But what really bothered me about it, not even that she said it. And so, yes, they're trying to villainize her or whatever. But what bothered me about it was when they tried to be like, can you explain? And they're like, well, you said that. And she said, that's not what I said. So she realized it came out the wrong way. But like when I thought back to it, I was like, how else was that going to come out? There was no, what did
I
you really, how
know.
could you really have meant that to be?
I know. I didn't listen. I didn't like that she had said it either. Honestly, I'm not a Black woman.
And I guess I'm not either.
Just as a human though, but just as a human. Listen, and here's the other thing too, that women in general have been fetishized, and many cultures have been fetishized. And girl, you know how it's been for Asian women to be fetishized and how we have been placed on the side. And then you saying that about Black men that didn't know.
She's fetishizing them. Okay. And we're not seeing a problem with that. But the thing is, I guess people have their preferences on what type of person they like and everything like that.
You're allowed to have
So
a preference.
you're allowed to have a preference. I think it,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't even blame her for having that preference, like whatever, girl. But it's the way she said it.
Yeah.
Like irked me. And then the way she
I don't blame
tried
her.
to backtrack, but then was like, no, I didn't say it that way. No, you really did say it. So think about what you said. And I think she got some real
Heat.
I think both of them got some issues up in there that potentially we thought this marriage, they were meant for each other or whatever based on what they put out. And you know, I always say this, when everything looks nice and clean and beautiful and in love on Instagram, it is the exact opposite. I always say that. I think a sign of true love is when y'all don't post about each other.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like to keep my things quiet. So maybe, I don't know. I'm not really trying to assure the world that I'm good to make myself feel that I'm good, because other people are reassuring me that I have it. Know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway, let's go back to, you were saying that there were some altercations with his son, right? A couple times.
A couple of times, him and his 17-year-old son.
Maybe because a 17-year-old won't take it anymore. Oh no. I wanted to segue into this story that's coming out yesterday, came out. This guy, okay, this is in Texas, of course. It's always in Texas or Florida, guys. This neighbor actually broke into someone's house with a baseball bat and beat the crap out of a 6-year-old and their guardian. I'm not laughing. I'm trying to read it while I'm laughing, but he was 39 years old and he was charged with 2 first-degree felonies. So aggravated assault with a deadly weapon against the adult and injury to a child. And I guess
what happened?
I guess he also hit his mom with the bat. So he went fucking off. I don't know. I don't know why he decided to break into these people's house, but the kid is fighting for his life right now because he literally went into their house with a baseball bat and started beating the crap out of them. I don't know. I hope he survives. It's unprovoked. They were sleeping. So I don't know what happened before. I don't know what was said. I don't know their relationship. They don't say anything about that because let's see, the guy, his last name is Logan, Daniel Logan. His wife was unable to locate him and she walked outside and saw there was a hole in the fence between her home and the neighbors. And she said that she saw there was shattered glass in the neighbor's back patio door. So he just went in. He didn't even sneak into their house. And then she heard,
being charged for breaking and entering.
I'm sure he will be, but she also heard the neighbor screaming, the mom. And she was covered in blood and whatever. So there was like a whole thing. And I just like, oh, like some people need some really big mental help. And it's scary to think that someone you're married to can, I could, if my husband just walks out of his house and goes attack my neighbor, I can't even fathom. So for that wife, unless he was unhinged or had abusive tendencies, or I don't know, people who go off like that probably could have manifested in other ways, but
Something definitely snapped.
yeah.
Man, I don't even know how to respond to this. I don't know. Wow.
It was, you know, it made it
Wow.
on People. It made it on People magazine as a crime and interest story. So yeah, can you imagine like you're sleeping in your house and all of a sudden some maniac that you actually know is beating your child or beating you? I can't even fathom, because last night I had this conversation with my husband and I was like, okay, first of all, y'all will think I'm crazy, but I'm from Brooklyn, New York. Okay. Every
That's
door
not
is
the
locked.
crazy part that we think.
Every time I look at an apartment or look at a house, when I even looked at my beautiful house in my beautiful neighborhood in my safety area, in my safety zone, I was like, how do I escape if somebody comes in here? What are the exits? Where do I hide? I don't
That's not a
know.
crazy thing to think about.
But you know what? None of my friends do that.
I
I
do.
realized I walked into this house and I was like, okay, I'm on this in my bedroom. I was like, I can easily open the windows and get out because the roof is not as slanted and I can make that jump without breaking a leg. This is how I think. And I'm like, where can I hide if somebody enters my home? You guys have to, let me take it back for a second. When I moved into this home with my then boyfriend, he worked night shifts. So not only did I leave New York City, I was living in Manhattan. I left Manhattan to come to the burbs in a place that I do not know. We're living in this house that's a little secluded.
Mm-hmm.
And he was never here at night. Okay. So this is, I'm used to apartments. I'm used to noise. I'm used to the fire hydrants, the fire engines, the police cars, people yelling at each other. I'm used to hearing the gossip from the neighbors when their boyfriends are drunk outside or whatever. You can hear a pin drop in this house. And what happens when you have a house, things settle. You hear creaking, you hear the walls, you hear all kinds of very silent noises that I was not used to. So yeah, I think about these things. So I crazily got an alarm system that I still pay for to this day.
Right.
And we use it every single day, or we did for a really long time. And now, my husband is always in and out up late at night. And he would open the door and let the alarm go off. And I'm just like, bro, can you get with it? Anyway, it made me feel secure. And I even have a sensor and everything. So don't try to come at my house, guys. But now we've been a little lackadaisical about it. And I had this conversation with him and I was like, my kid now can open the door and push things to get out of the house.
Yeah.
I need to make sure when I'm sleeping, if I'm in a deep sleep, which I'm usually not, but you never know, it takes one time.
Yep, absolutely.
If somebody opens my door, whether it's somebody entering or somebody leaving, I want to know. I got to protect my child. At this point, it's a safety thing. It's not even about people breaking and entering or hurting me. But I also, because I'm crazy, I had this conversation about what's a code word that I could say to you on the phone because I can't open the safe because I can never figure it out, that I can tell you that someone's in the house and making me call you. What's our safe word? I know I'm crazy, but
no, you're not. The thing is, though, that you're not. My brother-in-law is RCMP, which is the equivalent of cops. They're a little higher up here in Canada, but anyways, he's basically a cop. And he tells me all the time that those aren't things that people think about when they're buying a home. And when my sister and him bought their home, those were things that he thought about. Like, how is she going to be able to get out with our child should somebody decide to break in? And I think this is also why they have these ginormous dogs, is because nobody's breaking into that house and getting past these dogs. One of them will literally attack for just no reason. I shouldn't say that. He will attack for a reason, but he's a very protective dog. So those are things, though, that you should think about when you are buying a home. And especially when you have a 3-year-old running around who can open stuff and they get curious, right?
Yes.
We talked about this earlier.
Yeah, I lived in this house for 5 years before I had a kid. 5 years? Before I had a kid. Mm-hmm. So when I had him, the conversation in my head, because y'all know I'm crazy, is not even how I can escape. Because I know how I could be safe in my house.
Of course.
How could I be safe with a baby? And that complicated things for me. And also the fact that you can't control babies crying or fretting or whatever. And I'm like, we're effing screwed.
Yeah.
And it really scared me for the longest time. And I never have these conversations out loud with anybody. So thank you for listening.
Of course.
I never tell my husband because I know he thinks I'm crazy already. But in my mind, I'm like, if I can escape, that's great. But I'm not leaving my child behind.
Of
I'm
course
not
not.
leaving him in his crib. So therefore, we're both going to die.
Yep.
And then the conversation in my head became, what can I endure before I protect my child, which is everything, but how can I ensure that? And I can't. And
No.
that really made me for a long time feel very inadequate. And now he's a little older, so it's a little bit different, but it's just, if you have a kid, it changes so rapidly. That conversation in my head comes up pretty frequently.
And how different is that conversation now that he's able to walk around and open things, right?
Now he knows the concept of hiding, obviously.
Of course.
The listening thing is he listens for the most part, but if we're in danger, you can't really do much. And it's this helpless feeling of trying to protect your child when I really thought I had some sense of a plan before, and I don't have a plan now. My plan is basically the alarm system. When you come and visit me at my house one day, Min, because I see it happening, because y'all, Min and I have never met in person. You'll see I have a secluded driveway. I'm surrounded a little bit, but there are neighbors right next to me. And I sure was like, yeah, I'm crawling through those trees.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
No seclusion. I love the idea of seclusion, but I don't like being secluded.
I get it.
I just said I came from a place in New York City. It's crowded. Everyone's on the street.
Highly dense area, right? Like a lot of people live very close together.
But this was appealing to me to have my own space, but not be next to someone in a house. Like I still have space between my house and the next house, and I have these huge trees that cover their house, but they're there. And that is a safety. I don't know who they are. I know one person. I don't care. We don't need to know each other, but a neighbor's a neighbor who's going to help you.
Yeah.
Hopefully, unlike this story where the neighbor comes and takes a baseball bat and beats the crap out of you and your child.
Part of me wants to say to you, that's a fluke.
I feel like something must have happened.
Oh, there was a stab before that happened. There
had to have been an altercation. Listen, things like this make me grateful that I don't know my neighbors to have issues with them. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, hold on. Do we know that they knew though? Maybe it was.
I don't know. People, you got a fence, but you know who your neighbors are if you've been living to them for. This is what the thing.
I don't know if anybody remembers this, but there was in Canada. We have something called Greyhound, which is basically a bus system.
Oh yeah, we have Greyhound here.
Okay, great. Okay. Oh, I'm acting like you guys don't. Anyways, there was a bus. I want to say it was coming from Timmins. Anyways, north of Ontario, I believe, down to the south of Ontario, and a guy stabbed a guy on the bus.
Why?
This was years back. This is why I'm telling you. You say you're grateful you don't know your neighbors. But he didn't know this guy. Something snapped. I don't even remember the full story about what happened. And I probably had the wrong route, honestly. Let's be real.
Do you know how many times I've taken a Greyhound bus? A lot of times. Up to when I was in college, I would take it to school. They had other bus companies as well that I took. I know so many people that take the bus. I take the train. I take the New York City train system. Like anything can happen to you. But when you're on a bus, there is a different level of comfort. Because you're like, oh, let me get in my corner and go to sleep. Like it's dark in here at night. Like people can come at you. It's scary, man. It's scary. You don't want people to sit next to you, but when it's a crowded bus, you know they have to.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, that's my little story of you say you don't really want to know your neighbors or you're happy you don't know them. Yeah, you're right. But who did they even know each other? I don't know. I'm just saying. Anyways, girl, my advice to you, get a dog. Get a really big pit bull or a German Shepherd. Those things are very instinctual. It's instinctual, right?
So I don't want a dog. I had a dog. I had him for 16 years and he passed. Of course, we had to put him down. It's been a year now and it's just a lot. I don't want to.
Having a puppy or having a dog is a lot, but you and I both know it's instinctual, right? For them, it's protecting the pack. And if they have to protect the pack, they'll do it.
Yeah. I don't feel unsafe, thankfully. And hopefully nothing happens. And it's just me being super cautious. And I like to think I just like to be prepared mentally versus being blindsided, which you could never prepare for.
Not to be this person.
Oh boy.
I don't want to be this person, but I am. I feel like this is the least of your worries because your son's about to go to school.
Girl, What
Do you
the
get
hell?
terrified about that? Because
I wasn't until you said
I'm
it.
sorry.
What's
Those are
gonna
the
happen
things I
in
think about
pre-K?
often. I couldn't imagine raising a I couldn't imagine raising a child in my kids were young, and Canada has much stricter gun laws, much stricter gun laws.
Oh, you talking about the gun situation. Listen,
What were you
my
thinking? Hold on, let's go back. What were you thinking about?
oh, okay. I'll tell you in a second. I got scared when he was a baby
Mhm.
and first started daycare, not the first daycare, but the second daycare. We'll get into that in a second because I have a daycare story for you. They actually had to send home a thing that they're required by law to do a drill. And for kids who are under 2 or 3, they have to do it at least once a year or twice a year or something.
Yeah.
And that freaked me out because I don't know if this was news by you, but I'm sure it was. But there was a daycare preschool in Sandy Hook
Yep.
that, like,
Yep. We heard about it.
oh God, it was so awful. And I
Gut
can't even go
wrenching.
to that town. Can't even go to
Mhm.
that town. I have a client in that town. I had a client in that town. And I was like, I don't want to come to your town. Where the guy went back. And I always thought the guy went back to that daycare when he was like a teenager because something must have happened in that daycare.
Mhm.
Or he obviously wanted to do the most damage possible. And he was like, people are going to want little kids, but he could have went to an elementary school, but he chose that daycare,
Right.
preschool, whatever it
Yeah.
was. So in my mind, I think something must have happened, but I don't know. But yeah, they had to do the drills. And so he has drills like twice a year now. And it's freaking scary
Yeah.
because as a parent, did you guys have the news coverage for Uvalde, Texas?
Yep. We hear about most of your incidences.
So in Uvalde, Texas, what would you have done? There were parents that went in and snuck their kid out the window in the back
Yeah. I
because
would
they
have.
were being held back. I would have. I
I
really
would
would
have.
have.
Try to stop me.
If you have access to part of the school where you saw where they were blocking off and you could get to there
I
and you're
would have.
talking to your kid on the phone, tell them where to meet you, especially since you probably grew up in that town. You know the school, you probably went to that school. No, I would tell any freaking person if you have access to a window, climb the fuck out.
Yep.
Jump out, break your leg. I don't care. Crawl out. It's better than being in that environment.
Yep.
It is unfortunate that I'm going to have these conversations with my child. And I didn't think about it because my kid's not in school, he's in daycare. But I was doing Pilates a while back with this woman and her kids. One kid is in middle school, one's in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So I was with her for about 2 months. And within the 2 months, she had bomb scares at the school. They had threats that they had to look into, which of course was never recorded outwardly for the media or
Of
anybody
course.
in the area. But they would send alerts. They have this alert system now where they shut down all the schools in the area if they have even like an inkling of, and then you wonder, because back in the day when I was young, it was like Colorado was like Aurora, Colorado, or Littleton, Colorado when I was going
Littleton,
to
yeah.
college. Littleton. And I met a guy from Littleton like that next year and I brought it up and I was like, Littleton, the town of Colorado. And he started crying. And I was like, don't want to know. Actually, he's one of my good friends now. But it's horrible to think about that. But I'm going to have to because I'm going to get those text alerts that there is a potential threat in this school or this neighboring school. And we're going to have to figure that out. So yeah, but it never even occurred to me until I saw how her phone was blowing up with certain things. No, I
I
wasn't even
couldn't.
thinking about that. I was thinking more about my back in the day, like fights, bullying, kids
Oh my
being
God. I wish that's all you're gonna have to worry about. That's the least. I feel like that's the least of your worries.
back in the day. I went to a really different high school in Manhattan, but the school that I was supposed to be zoned for, my local school, let me tell you guys, you join a gang, you get jumped, there's knives, there's guns, there's everything. So it was like a thing. But that's what I'm thinking about when I thought about that. And actually, segue into this one story that actually happened. It came out on CBS News, and I saw a piece of it on social media, which I thought was really cute. There was this one school in Alabama or something like that, or South Carolina, and they were like at high time levels for fights and disorderly conduct, like arrests after arrests every single day. And some of the dads band together and they became dads on duty. And they just showed up at the school and would be like, oh, you walk into class, we're right here, we're watching you. And it became this thing where all of a sudden there was like no reports from the school. And it was miraculous because the school had this really high rate of arrests and fighting. And now all of a sudden there's been zero for quite a while. And it's
amazing.
Attributed to these dads. And so they interviewed these dads, and it was like a predominantly Black school. And so there's like these big Black guys, and they're just so nice. And they're like, yeah, we make fun of the kids. We're like, your shoes untied, but it's really not untied. But that gentle ribbing and that good natured thing put them in a good mood. And so what ended up happening, the snowball effect was more kids were coming to school, more kids were going to class, and the grades started improving.
Oh my gosh.
And they were like,
Yay.
why? I know, it's so cute. And they're like, why do you think that is? And they're like, because we care. And a lot of these kids don't have that father figure, and we're here.
Yeah.
And so even though our kids are here and we're their parent, we're basically just monitoring and making sure everything's okay. People coming to school, and when they're going from class to class, we take shifts. So there's always a dad around, and we're everyone's dad. And people
Oh my
resonated with that.
gosh.
They felt safe. How adorable.
That's adorable. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
And they're like, when your kid graduate, what happened? They're like, we're going to keep this going because it clearly is effective.
Yeah.
It is. And it was just funny because the dads would come in the morning, they would have their coffee, and they're like greeting the students or like making fun of them. And it's just, you
So
smile when you're
cute.
going in and you
We need more
have that.
stories like that.
I know. I thought it was adorable. I loved everything about it. And good for them. Good for whoever thought of that, who organized it, the dads that participated. And I hope it continues. And sometimes it doesn't have to be. Maybe you were there for somebody who really needed it. And it doesn't have to be like, oh, these dads have a gun. I need a security guard in the front. Maybe it doesn't have to be that. So it could just be something as simple as parents volunteering. But I just love the simplicity of that and the snowball effect.
Yeah, I agreed. I like that. Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah, I love that. And that's a good way to end it. I wanted to tell you
Yes.
this daycare story, but it like opens up a whole nother can of worms. It makes me like heated.
We'll save that story for another day.
Yes, I'll definitely talk about it because it's been on my mind. Oof. Oof. But yeah, let's end on the dads on duty. So cute.
Yeah. Thanks a bunch, you guys, for joining us. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Woke and Pretty. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Bye.